We play.
We fight.
We conquer.
Welcome back to the Freak Show. I'm your host today, Bumpy McSquigums. We're diving back into SD Gundam G Generation Crossrays. Tekkadan is going to be probably our next deal, and then we'll continue from there. Before we do that, we're not going to spend a lot of time. Don't worry. I know you're all going a little bit insane. I see still in dispatch. All right, hold on. I need to look at this. I don't know why he's still dispatched. I thought everybody was pulled out of the old dispatch. Oh, he's got like 38 seconds. All right. Well, we'll figure out what we did with him in a minute. Organization. List. Organized. Capture. We got the Gundam Ash Taron Hermit Crab, which sounds really cool. We're going to secure that. We're going to continue to keep our lists nice and pretty like. And you'll see that our lists of usable, decent, potentially, things are here. These are... I should probably separate these, to be honest. These are things that are not usable based on terrain. So, there's that. These are sort of, quote-unquote, retired things that we moved on from, but still usable if we need to slot them in somewhere. And then these are stuff that's either just not viable to use because we're currently in things that have nano-laminate armor, so beams are bad. Things that we've just moved on from. This is not necessarily bad in any way, just moved on from it. Same thing with this. And then we have the Gundam Age 1 Normal. I apparently have 2 of those now. We have the Gundam Double X, which for a brief period of time, Party Commissar joined the squad. He was in the Gundam Double X, but I did something special there. G Atmospheric Pack, G Self Atmospheric Pack, excuse me. Again, beams. 1.5 was kind of garbage anyway. Beams again. More beams, though. We do have the Gundam Hammer. That's a Turn A Gundam. And then with this bad boy that we just picked up. Again, it's fine. Looks cool, but eh. Alright, so what is the dealie? Well, I will show you the dealie in just a sec. First up, let's get our group dispatch done and over with. Dispatch report. And there's our ground ship. Alright, the return of Dark History. Everybody went and got what they got. Alright, operation complete, 20% in. Let's get some music. This is where we got our bandit originally, which we're no longer utilizing. I don't remember if I put it on someone else. It's fine. All right, so let's take a final look at the one thing I want to show you guys, which I am pretty proud of, but we'll see how you guys feel about it. All right, we're gonna look at Group 2. So I have moved Akihiro Atland up to our commander's position. He's got decent command. He's actually a little bit better than Amida was. So now we have Akihiro, we have Mikazuki, Shino finally has his custom grays to Ryusei go. And we have Lofter ready to go as well. I have not quite got her Roe yet. That's the new thing. So that's one of the things I haven't gotten. But I think everything prior to that I've actually picked up, including the Isaribi, which I don't have. I didn't purchase it, but it's in the production queue. But you'll notice to the right is the really interesting thing. As much as I wanted to hold on to that leadership role with my 229 command, Zex has me beat without any bonuses at 243. So it just makes more sense for him to be the leader. I was able to turn the Tallgeese F, maybe? The Tallgeese F into the Gundam Epion. It is one of my favorite Gundams in everything that I've seen thus far. I really like the Epion. It is definitely a melee-heavy Gundam. So, I've not looked at any of the variants yet, but there's apparently a Hydra Gundam, which is interesting. There's Wing Gundam Zero, which is kind of the counterpoint, the foil to the Epion. The Zero and the Epion are both, they both have the Zero system. But again, I always thought the Epion was pretty cool. It can transform. Can this? This can also transform. So they both can transform into a more maneuverable plane or spaceship type form to get around, which is really cool. So we have Zex basically leading with the Epion. Technically, it should probably be Miliardo Peacecraft, but it's fine. Or Miliardo, or however you say it. So I have moved into the Tall Geese 3. We got the Tall Geese 2, and we got the OG Tall Geese. Exiled and Party Commissar. So, there you have it, ladies and gents. We have the Tall Geese squad led by the Epion and the originator of the Tall Geese. I thought that was pretty cool. Anyway, just wanted to share that with you guys. Now let's get into some stuff. Hold on. I do need to do one more thing before we change over. This next mission is going to be out on the ground. So we're going to take the Petri or the Petri. And that's going to be our ship. And that's it. Yeah, let's get to it. I don't remember how many characters that we have that we could scout. We've uncovered a fair few. Probably should get Meribit at some point for auxiliary. Yamagi for maintenance there wouldn't be too bad. I don't know who Yuhana Hakuri is, but she's there. We have a whole bunch of people, basically. Karda could be another pretty okay pilot. She's actually only like average, maybe a little bit above average. Eugene could be our navigations guy. So if we actually want to get the full Isaribi crew, it looks like we're pretty close to having it. Celine McGriff, don't know. Really good at maintenance though. Sol Lin Lange, I got nothing. Another decent maintenance. Gerard Ran. Pretty good pilot overall. Not real good at commanding, but really good at just about everything else. Beside Payne is just good at everything. Wow. I don't know who or what you are, but dang. We also have Flit Asuno. Again, don't know. Preventer Wind, which I think is off of one of the Wing Gundam variants. And so on and so forth. One other thing I do need to change. I told you this was going to take very long. I may have lied to you. Unintentionally. You have no Awaken stat. Do you? No. Do you? Do you? No. Does anyone? Seriously? Nobody? Okay. Ellis does, but she's kind of like the worst pilot we have. Well, guess what? You guys are swapping. That's fine. Alright. Sorry. I am trying to keep all my lists up to date. So apologies on the slight delays in these things. Alright. It is time. We are ready. Story mode. We have our ground boys ready to go. Tekkadan is here. Tekkadan is ready. Hear Tekkadan roar. Or something. Tekkadan reaches Earth and meets with Makanai Togonosuke at Millennium Island, a desert island in the Pacific Ocean. Finally, we have taken the first steps to Mars's independence. However, that's not quite that simple. And what was it again? What was the reason you all came here? For the deregulation of Martian half-metal resources by Arbrow. Alright, that's something I've always wanted to realize as well. Oh, yeah? Really, then? But I'm afraid it's impossible right now. Impossible? Why? Well, I kind of fell from power and I'm currently in exile. What? You didn't think to mention that? You didn't think that was an important thing to tell us? In other words, I currently have no power over anything. Now, wait a minute. Are you saying we came all this way just to meet an old geezer with no power? Orga. So what we've been doing was meaningless? That's not what I'm saying. Then what? There are still ways of turning things around, you see. Makanai asks to be escorted to Edmonton and Arbrow so that he can run in the Arbrow election. His opponent is Gjallarhorn-backed Henry Fleurs, sure, which means a clash with them is inevitable. However, Makanai has a good chance of winning as long as he can participate in the election. He promises to deregulate Mars's half-metals if he wins. Despite knowing the path ahead would be a dangerous one, Orga had already made up his mind. Yeah, we just don't have a lot of good luck, do we? I think Biscuit, I've decided that we're taking on Makanai's request. By the way, we might change up some of the people out in... I don't know. I kind of have an idea of what I want to send out into combat for this, but at the same time it feels bad, so I might not do it. We'll see. But there's a risk anyway. I say it's better to seek a bigger return, don't you think so? Biscuit? So there's a whole lot of stuff that has gone on with Biscuit that has been ignored entirely in the game. I'm not going to get into all the details, but you absolutely should go watch Iron-Blooded Orphans if you are enjoying this storyline so far, because there are little side stories and just important details that we're missing out on. Again, not a tremendous amount. Most of, I'd say like 75 to 85% of what's going on is actually happening before your eyes, which is cool, and I appreciate that. But some of the things they have omitted, and you guys are missing out if you're not checking it out. Let's go back. What? We've already accomplished our goal, now we have to go back to Mars. If we ask, Tewaz might give us a ride. That won't be good for us. What do you mean? Sure, we can go back to Mars and do small jobs, but we'll still just be treated as quick-witted brats, and we'll get taken advantage of again. We have to aim big, bigger than Tewaz and that old geezer, Makanai. We take whatever we can, and... No, stop! We've got enough as it is. Think more about your comrades. There has to be a way to go home without endangering everyone. Are you saying I don't think about my comrades? No, that's not it. I'm just asking you not to choose the most dangerous path. I made my decision after thinking hard about what's the best for everyone's future. What if we push ourselves here and somebody dies? Then there is no future for them. I've decided we have to move forward now. Then you'll what? I'll leave Tekkadan. What? With Orga now uncertain of his decision after arguing with his friend for the first time. Despite how the boys feel, they are backed into a corner as their situation becomes even more serious. Carta Issue, commander of the Outer Earth Orbit Regulatory Joint Fleet. She demands that Makanai hands over Kudelia and the members of Tekkadan after being humiliated by their entry to Earth. Having accepted Makanai's request, Tekkadan now must fight against Gjallarhorn to leave the island. Then, a tragic event occurs. Yeah, it does. Oh, they're not even gonna... They're just right into it. Okay. Okay. Hey, Biscuit. Say something. Biscuit! Biscuit! Alright, so... Real quick. They were winning the fight. They were crushing it. There was very little left of Issue's forces. In fact, Issue was down there, Carta. She was down there leading her forces. And she noticed this mobile worker, and I don't know why they decided to show up on the battlefield. They've been commanding the battle and all the traps and stuff they laid. They've been commanding that the whole time from a distance, and then the last, like, 3 mobile suits Mika's up against are there, and they roll up, like, on, like, I don't know, like, the edge of the battlefield, and they're like, yeah, Mika, you got this, it's great, and she's like, wait a minute. It's him. He's the one giving orders. So she, like, slaps Mika away or whatever and just charges at him and goes to kill him. And Biscuit's driving and Orga's, on top, commanding everything. And Biscuit's like, and they're both like, we're not going to be able to outrun this. It's going to be bad. It's going to be terrible. And then right before, they're about to get crushed and killed by Carta, Biscuit does like a real hard like left-right turn, knocking free Orga, who goes flying off. And then this is what happens to the mobile worker. He's not looking good. Orga, I can't hear anything. I have to go. I can't die yet. Not here. Remember, he's got 2 sisters back on Mars. And the grandmother with the farm. I'm supposed to go back to Mars together with everyone. So I can't die. I don't want to die. I made a promise to Orga. They reconciled before all this happened, by the way. Sort of. They agreed to talk about it later, and then, you know, like, yeah, we'll definitely talk about it later. And I'm like, oh no. That means Biscuits, uh-oh. And 100%, I mean, they telegraphed it a little bit in the series, but it's alright. Biscuit, Orga, we will make Tekkadan. That was the last word. Biscuit. No. Biscuit. Yeah, it sucked. So one of the main characters from the very beginning just gone. The loss of his dear friend Biscuit causes Orga, Tekkadan, to waver. Meanwhile, Mika really messed up Carta, beat her up, nearly destroyed her, then they all left, and she does eventually die from what was done. Or at least I think that's what happened. That's the impression that I have in my mind. Galio came, pulled her out of the wreckage of her mobile suit, and then they're leaving to try to get her some medical attention, and she was hallucinating, calling out McGillis's name and thinking McGillis was with her, and it was Galio the whole time. It's just the whole situation's sad, and that's one of the things that the Gundam series as a whole often does. I feel like this one's a bit more cut and dry, who the good guy and who the bad guy, good guys and bad guys are, but oftentimes the Gundam series as a whole, you know, has the good guys, has the bad guys, but they have their own motivations, their own ideals, their own thoughts, and it's not as cut and dry as good and bad. It's just a difference of opinion, and there's, you know, there are terrible things, of course, but the overarching story and feel to Gundam as a whole is that war is hell. You know, war is terrible. Good people die on both sides. Not everyone is just, you know, cut and dry evil, terrible, bad. There's honor, there's beauty in the battle. Respect is earned, and, you know, one side might win, but there's always terrible things that come with that, and losses heavily on both sides. It's heavy. If you really look at the story of any of the Gundam stories, from what I can remember, there's a lot of politics, and there's some just weird stuff in general, a lot of maybe even philosophical things that they try to throw at you, and a lot of that seems a bit pretentious to me at times, but for the most part they do nail, you know, just this horrible, you know, right and wrong. It's a tricky thing to really nail down. So, and yeah, it's deep. It cuts deep too. There's a lot. Anyway, sorry. You know, this stuff is it's always one of those things where, like, I watch it and I enjoy the action, enjoy the mobile suits, the mechs, and you know, the big robot battles and the piloting, and, you know, crazy tactics and space battles and all this stuff. I enjoy all of it, but at the end of the day, it's not just that, and not everything can say that. Not everything can be more than what it appears on the outside. So, anyway, the loss of his dear friend Biscuit causes Orga, Tekkadan, to waver. The path they walk to reach their promised land is stained with blood. How much further must they walk before they reach it? The time to test the resolve has come. I mean, I feel like the resolve has been tested a multitude of times, but yeah, even more so. So yes, oftentimes the mood or how I feel after watching some of, or parts of, or even all of any of the Gundam series that I've seen, it's somber. You know, it's thought-provoking. So, like I said, if you guys are like, this doesn't really seem all that interesting, it seems really shallow, a bunch of big robots battling, there's a lot more depth to it than you guys think. And there's a lot of parallels and even just like political concepts, you know, like these are things that could have happened or maybe have happened in various different ways, and they pull from all stuff through history. Like, there's a lot. There's so much to the Gundam series this is as a whole. And like I said, watch a few. If you bounce off of it, try a couple different ones. I feel like there's something for just about everyone in these multitude of series, and you just gotta look for it. So, this is not what you told me. The election was to end without Makanai Togonosuke leaving the island. I become the Prime Minister of Arbrow, and we seize all the power. That was the plan, was it not? What she did was absolutely unnecessary. To think, we became her guardian and supported her to maintain the Issue family's position in the Seven Stars. Carta, you useless tomboy. Makanai's whereabouts are still unknown. If he were to show his face at Parliament, not to worry, we know where he's ultimately heading, so we can still catch him. Sorry about that, folks. Now I must return to headquarters. In the meantime, start thinking about your speech for your inauguration as Prime Minister. Got it? Oh, all right. Ooh, little boat. A little boat. A little boat. Stage 7, Tekkaden. Orga's injuries must be serious. Oh yeah, Orga was injured, obviously getting thrown, going full speed from a mobile worker. Caused him to be banged up a little bit, but not too bad. He hasn't given any orders lately. Yeah, so he kind of holed himself up in a room for, I want to say it was just a couple of days, but everyone, you know, he kind of led everything, so everybody's not sure what to do. It must have been hard to see Biscuit die right in front of him. Of course it was hard. Gallowhorn, I'll kill them all next time. Kill them? We have to wait for Orga to recover. Aren't you even angry? What's the matter, Takaki? Are you scared? Who said I'm scared? Then what? Stop it, you two. We have to wait until Orga. You're always like this. Calm down, boys. Hey, go argue somewhere else. I'm sorry. How was Orga? I brought him some food, but he didn't respond to anything I said. Figures. What should I do at a time like this? I've always been in background roles, so I don't know. He just needs to be alone for a while. Nothing we will say will cheer him up right now. I see. But it looks like he's being seriously hard on himself this time. It's times like these where we need him to put some spirit into the others. Mikazuki? Is Orga still in this room? Yes. Okay. It would be best if we leave him alone right now. Mika's like, I don't care what you say. I do what I want because I have no feelings. Ish. Oh yeah, Ein, something terrible happened to Ein. He got his butt whooped in a battle, and he nearly died. How is Ein's condition? And they're kind of just keeping him alive, barely. It hasn't changed. He depends on life support. Don't you already have the answer? McGillis, I can't do it. I just can't commit to it. I know that Ein can be saved if we can't be saved if we leave him like this. I want to let him get his revenge for his senior officers. But to implant a machine in him, he won't be human. So essentially, the space rats, right? Their whiskers. We've kind of been over this ages ago. Was the Alea Vignana system. That's the weird. There's this like weird little spike coming out of the back of their spine up near their neck. And it's essentially inputting a machine to kind of work with your neural interface or whatever. But that was frowned upon as making you kind of subhuman or human debris even to ever modify the human body. So any kind of modifications like that. So that's what they've been taught all these years. And 300 years ago, the end of the Calamity War, there were 72 Gundam frames that were made, and they all had the Alea Vijnana system. And people piloted those. And I believe this was Gallerhorn that had all that going on. Like, that was their idea. Now Gallerhorn rules everything, right? So you'll see. We'll see how much info they're going to give you from there. But I think that's enough info for you guys to continue at least kind of understanding what's going on. Essentially, McGillis told him that he could implant the Alea Vijnana in him and it would save Ein. Otherwise, Ein's going to die. And he's like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to make him something that's not human anymore. And I think when he was found, he was saying that he wanted to get stronger, he wanted to become better. And maybe this was even before, when he was just still and totally fine. That he wanted to get the Alea Vijnana so he could keep up with all these, people that have it and are crushing him. And he can't win the fights against them. And he's like, no, that's ridiculous. You can't do that. That would make you less than human. So this has kind of been an ongoing thing. Give up being human, huh? It can be said that this world was built on that very choice. What do you mean? 300 years ago, people were becoming impoverished from the never-ending Calamity War and fought to the brink of extinction. For the human race to survive, someone had to put an end to the wars. Someone with great strength that broke the balance of power, a strength that was beyond human. People who shared the same aspirations gathered, and an organization that went beyond countries and economic blocks was formed. Yep. They eventually created a system that maximized the maneuverability of mobile suits, man's greatest achievement in weaponry. They made the Alea Vijnana system. They went on to create 72 mobile suits that would utilize its full potential. Gundam frames. If you trace back their origins, it leads us to that point. The saviors who gave up being human and saved humanity. They later formed an organization called it Gallerhorn. So the Alea Vijnana that once saved humanity is now detested as a relic of the war. How ironic. Indeed. In the 300 years since, Gallerhorn has become corrupt and weak, a hotbed for power struggle. Did you hear about Carta Issue's fleet failing to stop Tekkadan? What? Kudelia and Tekkadan have escaped with Makanai Togonosuke, Arbrow's former leader. They disappeared somewhere over the Pacific Ocean. What? Can't we find them using satellite surveillance? Isn't this our home turf? There's probably an informant among us. Yeah, there probably is, huh, buddy? It just shows how corrupt things have gotten. He plays his part masterfully, by the way. McGillis. Despicable. They should learn from Ein's loyalty. Maybe a man like Ein is the one who is closest to the long-lost essence of Gallerhorn. You may be right. Galio, I got something I want you to see. What is this place? Work on the Alea Vijnana system continued until recently. This is the research facility. What is this? Galio, you understand, don't you? This is for Ein. And for us. It's a mobile suit? We have to show them that Gallerhorn was born and their self-sacrifice to save Earth. You and I, equipped with the Alea Vijnana, will exterminate those space rats and show the world we're the ones to lead this organization properly. Show them our origins, huh? Seems the mood on the ship is becoming more and more depressing. A comrade's death must be really hard on such young children. I fear Tekkadan might lose their will to fight because of this. Well, if they decide they want to quit here, no, there's nothing I can do to change their minds. If that happens, I will escort you myself. Is that so? All I can do now is focus everything on moving forward. I cannot afford to stop. You're a lot tougher than you look. What is it you wanted to discuss? Yes, this ship is heading to Edmonton, the home of Parliament Hall. But between here and there, Gjallarhorn has surely set several traps for us. So I was thinking about changing our destination. Change our destination? To where? To Anchorage, Alaska. Anchorage? What will we gain by going there? We disembark at Anchorage and board a train owned by Tewaz's local subsidiary. A train? I had no idea that such a thing still existed. Yes, once a week, Tewaz's regular freight train goes from Anchorage through Fairbanks and runs all the way to Edmonton. Since it's a regularly scheduled train, it won't raise Gjallarhorn's suspicions. Also, it's a route far from the city, so there shouldn't be any radio wave interferences from the Ahab reactors. I see, we can carry the mobile suits without any worry. I've already spoken to Tewaz about this. Montauk Company has already approved the change in course. Well, this is quite impressive. I can't believe this is your first time on Earth. I studied a lot about many things so that I could bring to fruition the wishes entrusted in me. I see. Well, I have no objections. I'll leave it all up to you then. Thank you very much. The boss of Tewaz, that merchant named Montauk, and me. You sure know how to boss men around, my lady. You call for Mars's independence, and your qualities as a romanticist can move people's hearts. Yet you're also a realist looking to deregulate half-metals. You'll no doubt become a great leader one day. No, I don't want to be a leader. I want to become hope itself. Even if my hands become stained with blood, so long as a ray of hope remains for the people. I'm telling you, man, some deep stuff. Alright, folks, I think we're going to have to break it off here, but we'll continue in the next episode. I didn't expect quite this much story in this, but I did mess around at the beginning, so. But we're on our way to the next adventure, and I'm totally here for it. Anyway, ladies and gentle people, that's going to do it for this particular episode. Hope you guys enjoyed, and until the very next one, I have been your host, Bumpy McSquigums. Thank you so much for stopping by the Freak Show. We play, we fight, we conquer.